Take the Leap is the podcast where we get real about the roller coaster that is entrepreneurship and life. Sure, some folks make running a business look like a walk in the park, but let's be honest, it's more like a wild ride through a theme park with a lot of unexpected twists and turns.
Join us, your co-hosts, Ashlan
and Tory,
as we spill the beans on our own real-life experiences and shine a spotlight on some amazing guests. From the highs of success stories to the lows of epic failures. And hey, we'll even throw in some cringe-worthy, laugh-out-loud, embarrassing moments for good measure.
So buckle up and tune in every Tuesday and Thursday for a dose of raw, unfiltered truth about what it's really like to chase your dreams and build a business.
Whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur or just dipping your toes into the startup world, we've got something for everyone. Even if it's just to make you think, wow, I'm glad I didn't do what they did.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Take the Leap podcast. Tori, how are you today?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Like we said right before we hit record, I'm feeling a little like under the weather, but I don't know if I don't know what it is. It might be allergy things. It might just be because I've been eating not the greatest, or it might be because I'm trying to stop consuming so much caffeine. so
all of those things at once are a bummer.
Exactly.
I'm so sorry. I feel that. Somebody in our household has been sick since the beginning of the year. So waking up, sometimes I'm like, is this a cold? Is this allergies? Is this just me being so fucking tired?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what the hell is happening? So I'm so sorry. That's a bummer.
Yeah, I'll get through it. But yeah, it's more frustrating than anything, because my husband's like, did you take medicine? Is it working? I was like, no, it's not, and I don't want to take more. And yeah, but we'll figure out a way through it. Anyways, that is not what we're hopping on to talk about today. We were going to do a recap and reflection of our episode with Vicky Semony. And
that was such a good conversation.
Yeah, it was really great. And I just love the diversity of perspectives that we've been able to have on the podcast. And I guess as a little teaser for folks, we are having some returning season 1 guests come back on as well. So we'll get to dive a little deeper with them. But one of the things that Vicky had said was one of the things that was surprising to her as she journeyed into this kind of second act in her life was that entrepreneurship and success and traction even just takes time. So she had the analogy to ivy that, like that grows. The year 1 it sleeps, year 2 it creeps, and year 3 I'm forgetting what the last one it is, but that it speeds up and it rapidly kind of increases over time, but it does take a little while to get that baseline and that foundation going. So what did you think?
Yeah, no, I agree with that 100%. And I also really liked, well, honestly, the biggest part of her perspective that was really helpful for me was to remember that you're never too old to start something new.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can start something new at literally any stage of your life. I'm not saying she's old. I'm just saying that you can literally start something at any stage of your life, whether it's a new business or putting yourself out there in a different way. And I think that was really encouraging to hear, because I think so much of the time we look at people who are really successful on Instagram, online, and we see like this perfect vision of success, and they started back when they were in their 20s. And sometimes it's just like really hard to compare yourself to, because I don't feel like I had things worked out back then. I still don't quite feel like I have things figured out now. And so it's just, I guess, encouraging reminder that we all have our own timelines and we all have our own paths to follow. So I really liked that. But I also I think this is like a common theme that we keep talking about, is that success isn't linear. It's not an overnight thing. People who are, quote, overnight successes, those are really unattainable stories that we've been putting on a pedestal, I think, for too long, because one, we don't recognize in these instances the extreme privilege that those people usually have. But then two, like, it wasn't an overnight success. There was a lot of work that went into it behind the scenes. And that piece, just for some reason, but probably because it's just not as sexy, isn't talked about. And so those are my rambling thoughts. But I feel like it's just really important to keep reiterating that. I feel like we say that a lot. I sound like a broken record, but it's nice to kind of get that perspective in a different way from Vicki. Really good conversation with her. Really inspirational.
Yeah. Another thing too, that is something that we have talked about as well, was this idea that, like, to understand success or like feel really successful, failure has to happen. And that is a theme that has come up in conversations that we've had with other entrepreneurs. And, you know, one of the things she had said, it's what you do with that failure that really determines your success. And so, like, even though, I don't know, I've almost been reframing anything to me that has seemed like, quote unquote, a failure, into just a life lesson, or just a, hey, we're not going to do it that way next time, or here's, you know, the lesson that we can take from this, to improve in the future. And even, you know, as we restart, like, we haven't talked about this yet on the podcast, but I'm deep into wanting to restructure my website and, like, reword the way that I talk about certain things. And, you know, to the point where I'm scrapping a lot of the old content, and trying to rediscover, like, my voice and what I want to write about. And that can feel really scary. But, you know, the last time that I worked on my website was a couple years ago, because I had, like, a definitive thing that I was attending, and I was like, oh my gosh, I want it to be updated, you know, to the point that it makes sense for what I'm doing now. And so that reinvention and that thinking and going through that kind of process is all about what entrepreneurship is, because you don't have to be the same thing as when you started, you know, 2 years in, 4 years in, 10 years into your business. And that adaptability and that flexibility and being able to shift and change as the world around you shifts and changes, as the people you want to work with, you know, shifts and changes, is okay. And it doesn't need to be seen as a failure or as, like, a waste of time. Because I think that is another way that people can frame it, is that, like, oh, I wasted all this time on this other thing. And it's like, no, you tried something that, you know, for whatever reason, either didn't work or isn't feeling good or isn't feeling, you know, valid to you. And it is okay to leave it behind for something that feels better and more authentic for you now.
Absolutely. Well, and the only way that you're going to learn and evolve as an entrepreneur is by collecting data. And the only way you can collect data is by trying and failing and figuring out, okay, what did I like about the situation? What did I not like about the situation? What went well, what didn't? And maybe not even necessarily failing, but just like, okay, this is something that happened to me that I did not enjoy as a business owner, or I don't want to be here again. How can I look at this situation and what can I pull from this and take with me? Like, for example, when I was like year one into my business, and I think I was still working full time, I had a client who I worked with for about 6 months and didn't do a contract, had more of a verbal agreement, and I didn't get paid for like 6-7 months. And it took me finally stepping up and saying, okay, I'm not doing any more work for you. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to step back to actually get that payment. And I thankfully did get paid. I don't think they were intentionally trying to keep it from me. It just, because it wasn't in writing, it was just kind of one of those things. But from that moment on, I started having contracts, and I started having like a system in place for if somebody didn't pay me, what was I gonna do? Because with them, it was like, oh, well, I'll get it to you soon. I'm sorry, like it's just, been delayed, and I'm like, well, I know they're gonna pay me, so I'll just keep working. Now I don't do that. If somebody doesn't pay me, I stop working, and if they don't meet the timetables, I point to the contract and I stop working and I don't provide them with anything. And so that as a business owner was a really important lesson for me to learn the hard way. But because I learned it the hard way, I changed my approach. And you know what? I've changed it many times since then too, because I've had situations that have come up that I wasn't quite expecting. I had a contract, but some other things happened, and I just and this isn't like a negative thing. Like I for the most part, have liked all the clients I've worked with, and I have gotten paid from all my clients. Nobody's not paid me, but I've had some sticky situations with getting paid on time. And as a freelancer, I rely on that money, and I rely on getting it on time. That's like my monthly income. I don't get like a W-2 paycheck every 2 weeks deposited into my account. If I'm not getting paid by my clients, then I'm not paying myself and then paying my bills and buying groceries. So it's a little bit of a different, situation. Anyway, that was like a big ramble, but like a really good example of like, I had to learn that lesson in order for me to change the way I was approaching clients and I don't make verbal contracts or verbal agreements anymore. I have a contract. Thanks to you, actually. I think you actually helped me out with my contract. So thanks for that.
Yes. I know. And one of those are the things too that like if you don't hear it from somebody else, or like, often you're just like, oh yeah, we've got like a handshake and a word, everybody's word. And unfortunately we live in a society where you have to have those things in place. And Lord knows, I mean, I really hope that if anything were to happen, my contracts are, solid when it comes to suing somebody or taking on litigation. But like, have I ever did that? No. You also have to like figure out for your own self, like what your limits are and what you would and wouldn't accept, and as well for all of that.
Absolutely. I agree. And this is like a really sidebar, but I just want to put this out there. If you are planning on doing a project with a friend, I think there's always this like, I don't know if it's because like money makes us uncomfortable or what it is, but there's this inclination to be like, oh, well, they're my friend, so we don't need a contract. We don't need an agreement. I would always recommend in any situation working on an agreement. And have it in writing, at least outline like the expectations and like who's going to do what. And like, if money is being made from this, like who's going to handle the money and how that's going to work, because that is the best way that you can make sure that like you're not going to ruin a friendship.
Totally.
Otherwise, like if one person has one expectation and another has a different one, and you never figure out what those two things are, you're going to completely like miss the bar, and then that could cause some conflict. And so I found that in my experience, anytime I've worked with a friend and we've always had like at least some sort of written agreement, it's never been an issue, because first of all, we're all, if they're the right person to work with, if you're all friends, chances are y'all want to be on the same page and you don't want to disappoint the other person. And so they've never like questioned like the need for a contract. And if somebody does, like maybe that should make you go, I don't know about this. But then too, I have had a situation where I've paid someone and I had it in the written in the agreement, I will pay you as soon as the client, because we went in on a client together. I will pay you as soon as the client pays us. And then the client was late on their payment. And so I pointed back at it. There was never an issue between my friend and I, but I was like, hey, they still haven't paid me. So I'm going to pay you. I'll pay you as soon as I get it. I'm going to help them. Will you help me? try and collect that. So, and it worked out. It was fine, but it's just a little less awkward, I think, when you just have it. So that was a sidebar. But I just felt like it was an important sidebar to bring up since we were talking about contracts.
Absolutely. I mean, I think, we probably have to refresh ours, but even when we embarked on this project together, we did have kind of a written roles, responsibilities, agreement, make sure that we're not stepping on each other's toes. And I also feel like we always have really clear communication about hey, this is what's going on. Here's what I can do. Here's what I can't do right now. And being willing to fill in for the other person if they need something as well. So it doesn't, I think it's a nice to have just to help with that, role clarity and just make each person feel good about it. Also, I think the other thing about it too is just to get into the habit, right? Of everything happens with a contract, even something that does seem super, super simple should happen with a contract or some sort of agreement. And if you don't want to use the word contract, because I know that some people have that's a no word for them, it can be a written agreement that you both digitally sign that's dated, that sits out there. But I think it is, like you said, very helpful and useful in the long run.
Agree.
Yeah. Well, and then the last point that I wanted to bring up from our episode with Vicki was just some advice that she had given for new entrepreneurs. One was having a financial nest egg so that you are not just going into it with relying on it to be your sole, financial outcome, just in case anything happens. Be ready for unexpected pivots and delays in revenue, and then focus on long-term relationships and impact, not instant results. So I think those were all really good points. When I first started my business, I was still working full time. It was the middle of COVID and we were getting the nice little government cheese money, the stimulus payments, and I poured that into getting started, which was a really nice to have. But that was money that that it might have taken me longer to get a head start if I hadn't had that. And then, things, growth happened at, I would say, different trajectories. Every quarter, I had another spurt in growth. So it wasn't as linear. And it really was based on how much I was putting hours wise into it, because it started out, I was doing 2 extra hours a week of work, and then it became 5, and then it became 10. And really the breaking point was when I was how can I uphold 40 and 40? And it really wasn't 40 and 40. Sometimes it was 50 and 30. Sometimes it was, more on one and less on the other. But you get to that point where you have to figure out, am I all in on my business, or am I all in on, am I going to keep this W-2 job as well? And it is hard work, instant results. I feel anytime I see a business owner who's just I can help you make 100K in 5 days, I'm are you robbing a bank? What are you doing to exactly do that? I would have very questionable, there are lots of questions about where those results come from and, how sustainable that is in the long run.
Absolutely. We all have had some interesting journeys into entrepreneurship, but it's really nice to hear different perspectives on how we all made that happen.
Awesome. Well, shall we do our favorite segment in these solo episodes, Tori? What is your win for this week?
Yes, my win is that I have been working out regularly again, and it's been really nice. And I feel good on the days that I work out. I feel really good. And then it's been encouraging me on the days that I'm not doing a full workout to still do some activity throughout the day, whether that's walking or cleaning or whatever. So that's been really nice. I feel great.
That's
at the
awesome.
moment. What is your win?
I am calling it a win, developing healthier eating habits. So when I went to New Orleans, it was like a lot of fried food, a lot of like really
Sounds
heavy,
delicious.
like so much delicious, heavy, savory food. So in our most recent grocery run, we've got lots of veggies, we've got lots of fruits, and so incorporating that into the diet, and yeah, just making sure that I am quelling heartburn symptoms and all of that stuff from the meds that I am taking. But yeah, it's been feeling really good to not eat out as much and cook at home and kind of go back to a regular process as well.
That's great. You're inspiring me.
I know. I feel like we're always the opposite. It's like food or diet or exercise. And it's like
you can't always be great at everything. Sometimes something has to give a little.
Yeah. Well, what is your do better then for this week?
Well, related, my do better is actually to do more meal prep, because I have been finding that myself, we've just been really busy as a family. I feel like for the past few weeks, every day after work or on the weekends, it's been something. And we've actively been really trying to meal plan. And especially because like groceries are super expensive, like we don't want to waste food. We want to make sure we're getting the cheapest ingredients. So we've been doing our best to like put a lot of effort into that and do that. But I feel like we just kind of dropped the ball the last couple weeks. It's been like kind of a free for all of like, okay, what do we have in the fridge? Okay, there's nothing that sounds good right now, or I don't feel like having leftovers, or I don't feel like cooking this meal we'd planned for because it's already like 7:00 at night and I'm starving. And so we've been caving a lot more on going out, and for health and financial reasons, I would like to stop doing that. Yeah. So my long-winded answer to your question is that my do better is to get back into our meal prep habit that we were in, and keep doing that, because that was really helping me a lot.
Yeah. I feel like if you can, put it as a calendar item on your calendar and just block it. Because I feel like that's what ends up happening, is that if you don't do stuff like that, then it gets scooped up by
it's just
other things. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. What is your do better this week?
I feel like I have been really slacking on like cleaning and tidying up. So like I have clean laundry in my bedroom. It is just in baskets that need to get put away. And then also, because like one of the baskets is like the hamper, it is like the dirty clothes is on the floor. So that is my do better. It's just like, because I look at it every morning and I'm like, oh, come on. But then I was like, but I have to start meetings and I have to do stuff. I have to cook breakfast. So my goal is to get it cleaned up and really do the extra laundry that is there, so that I can have fresh laundry, especially now that we're into like warmer times here. And so I'm just like, oh, everything is in like needs to get cleaned so that I can have good clothes to wear to the house as well. So yeah.
Well, good luck. I feel you on that one.
I know. Speaking of, it's probably something I just need to throw on my calendar and be like, don't do anything else. Just fold.
My trick is when I'm really behind on laundry like that, like folding and putting away, I just put on an audiobook and then sit there. I have a toddler though, so I have to find a time where Justin is free to
watch him.
Because if he is in the room, there's no way. Like he's just gonna destroy everything. So. But yeah, that's my trick, is listening to an audiobook or something.
That is a good
I was distracted and and then I'm like looking forward to it, because then I'm like, oh yes, I get to
because usually
get a few more chapters in. Yeah.
Totally. Because usually what I do is I like drag it into the living room so I can like watch TV while I fold laundry. But then that requires like the whole coordination of like putting it in a basket, then like taking it back. But that's good, because then you could just like do it right out of. We're just telling you all how to do your laundry as an entrepreneur.
Yeah. Also, if you could just tell us.
Yeah,
that
you
would be great.
manage. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in to another episode of Take the Leap. We look forward to seeing you back here later in the week. As always, if you have a guest recommendation or a topic or a question, feel free to send us a DM or send us an email at aloha@taketheleap-today.com. And if you haven't visited our website yet, we just did a snazzy new redesign. So you can go ahead and check it out, take a look at the course, and we will see you back here very soon. Take care. Bye.
Take care now. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Take the Leap podcast. We hope you found useful takeaways you can apply to your entrepreneurial journey. Subscribe so you don't miss future episodes, and keep in touch and follow us on Instagram. If you have business questions, shoot us a direct message or leave us a comment. We'll try to cover it in an upcoming episode. And visit our website, taketheleap-today.com, for more resources like our online course that accompanies this podcast.